But since Emma brought it up, let's address the fact that inaccurate predictions are totally okay, but only when she's wrong. In the lead up to the presidential race, Emma declared that her final electoral college prediction is that Harris sweeps all 7 swing states and ekes out a victory in Iowa.
In this video, Ana Kasparian of the Young Turks responds to attacks from Sam Seder and Emma Vigeland of the Majority Report. Ana Kasparian plays a clip of Sam Seder and Emma Vigeland's nasty jabs at her and suggests that they have directed their audience to harass her. With that, let's watch Ana Kasparian annihilate 2 of the most insufferable people alive, Sam Seder and Emma Vigeland.
Whoopsies. Now, if you watch Beavis and Butthead on the Vanguard YouTube channel, which the Majority Report hilariously treats as some authoritative source, you'd think that TYT is totally in favor of the Trump administration gutting federal agencies. Except we're not. 2 things can be true at the same time. These agencies have been deeply corrupted, do engage in waste, and should be reformed. But treating the federal workforce as if they're Twitter employees is a disastrous way to handle it, as we've been learning in recent weeks. But let's hear what Emma has to say about my on-air correction.
It is not the prediction. People make predictions all the time.
Right, I was wrong in my prediction about the election, but
this is not making
yeah,
like
right,
some type of
right.
poly market bet here.
Yeah.
Where the outcome we can't tell.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was an abundance amount of evidence of this. And even if your opinion, not prediction, opinion was, I can't see them doing this is pretty radical. The idea that you would mock people for believing it and saying it was a conspiracy theory, the people had Trump derangement syndrome. I'm sorry, give me a break.
Apologies, I forget that Sam usually doesn't let Emma get a word in edgewise, but I'll address what she said in that video in a second. But before I do, did I, Sam? Did I mock voters who were worried about Project 2025? Because I don't remember doing that. What I do recall is chastising Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party for offering nothing to voters other than incessant fear-mongering about Trump. I also remember criticizing members of the media who simply regurgitated anything the Democratic Party claimed. I also found it fascinating that as the whole of the Democratic Party was engaging in said fear-mongering, they were also playing part in a massive cover-up about Biden's mental decline.
Let me preface anything I'm about to say with most of what Ana says and Sam Seder and Emma Vigeland is all ridiculous because they're progressives, okay? But I'm sorry. First of all, you're going to see throughout this video that there's no question in this little tiff they're having, which, you know, it's kind of embarrassing to even have an on-air argument like this and be insulting each other, but Ana is 100% in the right. And I have to admit that I have bias towards Ana because I've heard her say rational things before. I've heard her acknowledge when she's wrong about things. I've heard her, although rare, compliment the right when they do something that she agrees with, which is rare. But again, the other 2, Sam Seder and Emma Vigeland, are clowns. You just heard Emma Vigeland there say, well, I mean, we all make predictions. I got my prediction about the election wrong. That's putting it lightly. She said something like Kamala Harris was going to win in a landslide. By the way, just like David Pack, what more evidence do people need that these people's minds are completely clouded with progressive and far left nonsense? That both of these people with big platforms in the dumb progressive space thought Kamala Harris, who was just objectively a terrible candidate, would win in a landslide. Doesn't that give people that watch these idiots pause that, okay, maybe they're not all that reliable when they tell me something? But again, progressive policies in general are just idiotic. And a progressive with integrity is almost an oxymoron. But if I had to pick a side, it would be on Ana's just because I've seen her be rational before. Those other 2 are just insufferable. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
I mean, just think about it. Democracy is under threat. We, the Democrats, insist that this corpse stay in the race to give us the best chance of beating Trump and saving democracy. But since Emma brought it up, let's address the fact that inaccurate predictions are totally okay, but only when she's wrong. In the lead up to the presidential race, Emma declared that her final electoral college prediction is that Harris sweeps all 7 swing states and ekes out a victory in Iowa. My only reservation is that I don't want to jinx the results, but I'm trying to avoid the trappings of magical thinking. Well, Emma, the magical thinking is what led you to think that Harris would sweep all battleground states. Not that you cited superstitious jinxing. And of course, Trump, not Harris, went on to win all swing states and the popular vote. The average of polls clearly showed Harris trailing Trump. She ran a horrific campaign, stood for nothing, was unpopular with anyone who was paying attention, and wasn't even nominated through a democratic process. She was anointed. How's that for saving democracy? But you worked very hard to launder her reputation and sell her to Americans, so much so that I thought maybe, just maybe, all those Kamala Harris ads that interrupted your YouTube videos were possibly clouding your judgment. But you say you were delusional all on your own. And you know what? I'll take your word for it. But since we're on the topic of issuing corrections, one of your viewers is curious about something that you've said and whether you're going to correct it. One of your viewers wants to know that since...
All right, before we get to what that viewer said, just in case you missed it because they're sometimes unintelligible, Sam Seder and Emma Vigeland are accusing Ana of predicting incorrectly that Trump was going to follow Project 2025, which, by the way, I'm still not convinced that he's following Project 2025. I had said many times, hey, even though Trump has said, I don't even know what Project 2025 is, it's the Heritage Foundation. I said forever, I think they've got a lot of good ideas. It was not extreme or crazy. It's radical to them because it's rational. But anyway, they're saying that Ana was like, look, Donald Trump has distanced himself from this, said, I'm not Project 2025. And now what they're suggesting is, see, he's following Project 2025 because of all the cuts that him and Elon Musk are making. So again, Ana's acknowledged like, hey, I got that wrong, that he wouldn't make these cuts. And they're suggesting like that Ana is in favor of Trump's actions with Doge, which, as you all know, I love everything that Donald Trump and Elon Musk have been doing. I love all these cuts. I want them to keep going. But, looking at it from a stupid progressive view, they don't like it. And so in Ana's mind, she had to apologize because Trump and Elon have been making all these cuts. And that was a bullet point within Project 2025. Anyway, my point is they're acting like Ana supports all of what Trump and Elon are doing, and she just doesn't. I mean, I cover these videos all the time. They rip on Trump and rail against him all the time. How do you cut these agencies? Again, which I'm in full support of, but just looking at it from their idiotic perspective. With all of that said, after she got past, hey, we don't agree with Trump on Project 2025, and what are you talking about? Everything else that Ana said in that part of the clip right there was 100% accurate. Every criticism she had for those morons. It literally sounds like the transcript of a video I'd make on Sam Seder and Emma Vigeland. So that right there is evidence that she can be objective when she has to. I mean, that was 100% truth, all the stuff she just said. So I guess I'm harping on it because I feel guilty of having to pick a side between two turds, the Young Turks and the Majority Report. But that's my justification, that Ana can at least be honest when she makes a mistake. And she broke down precisely what shills those two idiots are for the Democrat Party and the far left. Anyway, let's get back to the video.
Since I admitted I was wrong, can Majority Report admit they were wrong, saying there wasn't a Venezuelan gang that took over an apartment complex in Colorado, even though residents were coming out and saying that was going on for months? I haven't heard a peep from the Majority Report. Well, you know what? That's actually a great question. Majority Report seemed to direct their audience to harass me for months for accurately reporting that story. When that story was updated to include a horrific incident in which Trinidad Aragua gang members literally kidnapped and tortured a couple that lived in that Aurora, Colorado apartment complex, Majority Report couldn't be bothered with it at all.
A Colorado apartment complex plagued by suspected Venezuelan gang activity in the spotlight again after a brutal kidnapping.
They were pistol whipped, they were beat, They were victimized. They were terrorized.
Police say on Monday night, more than a dozen people approached a man and a woman, forcing them into an empty apartment where they were held against their will, and the man was stabbed. The two victims were released by the assailants after they promised not to call police, authorities say. Police say 19 people were initially detained in connection to the attack. Tonight, 16 are in Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody, according to an ICE spokesperson who says they are all Venezuelan nationals in the country without authorization.
Prior to that, the Aurora Police Department had already arrested 10 Tren de Aragua gang members from the same building. Wow, take a look at that. That's a lot of mugshots for a Venezuelan gang that definitely does not exist and definitely were not victimizing other migrants in addition to low-income Americans in that same apartment complex. That totally didn't happen. Oh, but by the way, that's not all. Earlier this month, ABC News had this headline, quote, ICE carries out.
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
Raid in Colorado, 100 members of Venezuelan gang targeted for arrests. Alleged members of Tren de Aragua were arrested at an Aurora apartment complex. So I'm just really curious, super curious. Is ABC News funded by Polymarket, and that's why they're reporting these news stories? Are they making it up? I mean, it's just, how many gang members do you need to take over a single apartment complex? But look, that's not all. Does Emma have the integrity to admit that she was wrong to gaslight everyone about Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass's austerity measures, namely her decision to cut the budget for a fire department that had already been chronically short-staffed and underfunded? She put this up on Twitter. Lots of people are spreading this $17 million fire budget cut story, and it's just not accurate. She then included a comical thread to bolster her claim. The thread made no sense, and it was clear that Emma didn't even bother to read the thread that she herself quote tweeted. She was even called out by other lefties like Sam Sachs, who correctly stated that Emma was sharing an incoherent thread she couldn't have possibly read. And then, when told the actual facts, doubles down and accuses everyone of lying to help the right. She still hasn't deleted the post that was retweeted 5,000 times. I checked today, it's still up. And therein lies the heart of the issue with Majority Report. Anyone who has a thought or belief that deviates even slightly from their doctrine is just a right-winger. And right-wingers could never make any legitimate points, right?
So well said. Anyone that even slightly deviates from their ridiculous doctrine is just a right-winger, and right-wingers could never be correct. That is just 100% accurate. I don't know what to add to that. But in this short, 7 to 8 minute clip, it just reinforces the fact that these people blindly follow anything the left wing does and makes excuses for it or denies it. You're just given multiple examples there, and the list would just go on and on. Anything critical of the Democrat Party, they'll be like, oh, that's not what happened, or here's what's really happened. I mean, think about it. They are in lockstep with the mainstream liberal media. If you recall, when the story about Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes came out, the mainstream liberal media was either minimizing it or denying it happened completely. To the liberal media and people like Emma Vigeland and Sam Cedar and David Pakman, telling the truth about horrible things that are happening to Americans is less important than spinning their ridiculous, stupid narrative that we all see through. They're the worst. But we want to hear from you. What do you all think about this infighting between Ana Kasparian and Emma Vigeland and Sam Cedar? Let us know. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you in the next one.